Alright, these are fan timer unit bypass harnesses. This is the basic version. This is the advanced version. But they bypassed this, which is the fan timer unit. And in case you don't know, I'll give a brief rundown of why the third gen prelude, or what this does on a third gen prelude. Now this is a swap, but just imagine it's the stock engine for now. So you have two coolant temperature switches. You have the one at the bottom of the radiator, which is switch A, and you have another one that's on the water neck, that's switch B. And so when the car is running, or you just turn the key on, the one at the bottom of the radiator, that's the one that controls your radiator fan. That one comes on around 195 degrees Fahrenheit. So when you turn off the car, that's when this can come into play. Temperature switch B activates it around 220 Fahrenheit. And basically, if your engine is starting to heat soak a little bit, then this will allow the fans to turn on when the car's off. And this, it's called a timer unit because it'll let them run up to 15 minutes. And the problem is, you'll notice this isn't really a thing on other Hondas. And these have been, well, they've been going bad for a while, but they're getting even worse now. This particular car, anytime you turn off the key, the fans will just instantly come on and just keep running. Or sometimes if you disconnect the battery, connect it again, the fans wouldn't run, but then you'd come out to the car later and they'd just be on randomly. So these things are becoming a problem. So that's all these do. They just bypass this, so the third gen is wired up like basically near their Honda. So on the basic kit, the way it's going to operate once you install this is, when the car's running, switch A is still going to control the fans just like normal. You just won't have any operation when the car's off. And I've also bridged connections so the temperature switch B on the stock engine is still able to activate the fans. You just have to know that switch is set to like 220 or so Fahrenheit. So normally it won't come into play, but you could always install switch A in the location of switch B. Either one will basically be able to turn on the fans, so that part's up to you. Right, so on an engine swap, which gets a little bit more complicated, B or H series, I've noticed at least with the Wireworks harnesses, they don't actually have this wired up what I would call correctly. Basically, so on a B series or A series, you got the temperature switch at where the thermostat is. And normally, the factory wire diagram, that's the one that should be able to turn on the radiator fan. But at least on the Wireworks harnesses, this one isn't actually wired up to anything. If you pull the connector out, turn the key on, and then bridge the connections on the connector, you should notice that your fan doesn't even come on. Even with the Wireworks harness, it's still running off the coolant temperature switch A at the bottom of the radiator. So what this bypass harness does, or one of the things it does, is it basically bridges the connections again, so this connector up on your swap harness will actually work. So now the fans are controlled either from this temperature switch or still the one at the bottom of the radiator. What that means is you can just leave it like that, that's fine. Or you could get rid of the one at the bottom of the radiator. Whichever one you want to use or how you want to use it, it's up to you. But basically they'll both be functional. To install the basic version, it's real easy. You just got to remove this kick panel to get access to the fan timer unit. Alright, the fan timer unit is right here. This is held on with one bolt. You just unplug it down there. Now just plug your basic harness into the connector and then secure it out of the way. So with the advanced kit, you're going to do the same thing for that. Secure it out of the way. You'll just know you'll have an extra wire. That's got to be pinned to your ECU. And I'll show you how to do that part on a second car. On this side, you'll have to decide how you want to hook it up. Resupply it with an ECU pin already on it. If you want to just directly pin it into your connector. And it goes to, we have it labeled to A12. But what you're going to find is you're probably already going to have an A12 wire. So the alternative is you just cut that wire at some point, probably up in here, and then splice it together. But I think it's just cleaner just to pin it into here. Alright, to get it in the connector, just go ahead and disconnect this one here. The way these are numbered is A, B, right? So this is A with the little tab at the top. So the way to count to A12 is starting in the top left. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 12. But if you want a shortcut on the bottom row, it's the 6th from the left. So it'd actually be this wire. You see there's only one pin there. So to get this out, first thing you gotta do is, there's a tab here, you gotta pull this back a little bit while you use your thumb to pull this latch here that way, and then do the same thing on this side, and the whole thing will pop open. It's like that. And the tool you want to use for this is a 1mm screwdriver. You can get these on Amazon for around $10. So now find that wire, and then on this side, you gotta stick the screwdriver in like that and pull up. There's a little plastic tab in here while you pull the wire out the back, and then it should pop out. So gonna go in, lift up. There it goes, just like that. And maybe to explain a little bit better, when this is in the connector, you're basically coming in right above it until you hit the tab, then you're lifting the tab up while you pull, and it'll come out. So now just insert your new wire to A12, or 6 from the left on the bottom row. Should get a little click, and then just give it a little tug to make sure it's seated fully. Once you do that, all you gotta do is close this. There you go. Here's this, and then for the loose wire, I just like to double it over, use some electrical tape. And normally I'll take it like a zip tie this to the rest of the harness there, so it's all clean. Right there, it is all cleaned up. And just secure this however you want, you know, when you put the ECU back where it goes. Here's an example of why you want to wire it like this. So if you have a stock ECU, or if you're using like a Honda S300, which is what this has, you can actually control what temperature the fans come on. So that's 190 and the car is cold right now, so I'll just set it really low. You see the fan control activated, and turn on the fans. So if you want this kind of thing to work with your ECU, that's when you need this. So once you've installed one of these, if you want to test that everything's still, you know, working how it should, all you gotta do is turn the key to the on position, pull one of the connectors, whichever one you're trying to run your fans off of, and just bridge these two connections, and your fan should come on. And on the advanced kit, you can also disconnect this and then just ground this pin to the chassis, and that should also have the fans come on.